So my talk's going to be on the Summer Academy 2009, which was titled Internal Necessity, curated by Teardad Zolgader. You may have heard of his recent project of the United Arab Emirates Pavilion at the Venice Biennale. I'll just give a little background. He approached, usually the Summer Academy entails an exhibition of some sort, but he felt that would end up just kind of coming out to be like a student show or a group show of sort of disparate parts, because of the fellows at the Academy are from different backgrounds, different art making practices, and he was interested in, as I'll get to, one of the topics of withdrawal, or the idea of like taking a break from the rigorous exhibition schedule that we're all through, and I'm sure everyone's thinking of with every weekend there's always some sort of art event. So I will begin with a quote from his talk. He brought up, and actually he's quoting W.J.T. Mitchell, but he brought up the concept of, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, ekphrasis, a Greek historical, rhetorical practice of precisely describing an object that isn't there. And in the context of W.J.T. Mitchell, he describes the three stages one goes through in trying to describe something that's not there. Melancholy, I can't tell you how great it was. Euphoria, wait, maybe I can tell you about it. And then finally, the moral hangover, maybe this is dangerous and I should have never tried to even tell you about this. So I think that's a good way to introduce a talk about a thing like the Summer Academy, which I'm attempting to do. So it was held in Bern, Switzerland, which is the capital, but also a very picturesque small town in Switzerland, as you can see from some of these images. This first one is like right in the center of town. It's a cuckoo clock. Let's see, there's my pointer. Okay. At the hour, it would do cuckoo clock stuff. Like people would come out here and the sky would ring the bell and stuff. So it's like a very picturesque place. This is downtown Bern, where we'd wait every day to go to the Zentrum Paul Klee, which is a museum dedicated to the artist Paul Klee, who is from Bern, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Nice view. So going up this road leads out of town and into the hills. Here is where the museum is located. From the other direction, this is a river that runs all around through the town around it, and people always remarked how it's interesting that it's this very fast moving river that cuts through this very sleepy, laid-back town. And one of the things one must do when visiting is to go swimming in the river, which involves being carried downstream and letting yourself go with the current. You can see little steps here. Okay. And you go in the river and it whisks you away. And when you want to get out, you try to find a pole on one of these little steps along the way and pull yourself out. And you can see these huge bridges. It's like, I don't know, 30 stories down in most cases. So there's another bridge that we would cross every day coming to the museum. This is a rooftop with a wild prairie on top of it. A lot of buildings had gardens and that sort of thing, and it was something we noticed because it's very interesting. And when we were being given a tour of the town by this artist who's from Bern but shows internationally, named Martin Moll, M-O with an umlaut, L-L, gave us a sort of uncanny tour of Bern. He brought us to this building and said how there's going to be an artist project to do a sculpture, kind of like a lean-to or wigwam type made of wood structure that the artist is going to install there. This is another interesting thing seen all around Bern. This very curious structure, which is very utilitarian. It's for cats, because there's not wild cats, but free-roaming cats all over the city. And people build these sort of DIY structures like this. Some of them are very elaborate, where the cat can hop out the window down the platform and go out on the town. And then when he's done, he can hop back up and go home. So this is as we descended into the city. This is like a huge fortress face from the medieval times. And of course the city's expanded beyond that. This is down on the river. You can see another huge bridge. This is the river as it enters town. And you can see here there's a large waterworks. And it's really interesting because the river, it's one of those things where it's like, it's very fun, but you must respect nature because it is this fast-moving current. And locals talk about, oh, well, we started swimming in the river as 5, but tourists always come, and there's always 1 or 2 people that drown because there are these huge water processing turbines that you can get sucked into. And so when they're telling you about swimming in the river, they're like, well, you have about 13 of these poles you can pull yourself out of, but if you go too far, then you enter this other water processing place. And it's a little bit to scare you into being cautious, because I think a lot of people jump in, they think it's fine, and then they meet their doom. So Bern is a very picturesque town. This is, again, down at the very bottom by the river. Little fountains everywhere, and cute window boxes. And this sign, which is, as you can see, he's confused. It's the typical workman, but he is shoveling up bear poop, which is symbolized by the bear paws, which is another major part of the town. Here you can see it sort of under construction. The bear pit, which goes back centuries. And I was kind of joking that I tell people that Bern was founded by bears. But it's sort of true because there are a lot of wild bears in the area that would come to the river and fish and stuff, and that's kind of where humans learned that it was a good place to settle. So this is it again from another view. And finally there, it's down in the pit there. And so that was that road I showed you earlier, if you followed that, to go to the museum. So every day it turns the corner at the bear pit. And they've kept bears there for centuries until recently the last one died, and which is regarded as a good thing because it's apparently really inhumane the way they kept the bears. So now it's going to be kept as this historical site that goes back to the founding of the town, and they're going to build a proper zoo for bears. So now we're at the Paul Klee Museum, Zentrum Paul Klee. This is the director, Yuri Steiner, at their donor board, explaining the story of the museum. So this guy is a famous doctor who invented an artificial hip. And this woman was a friend of Paul Klee as a girl, was like a huge fan of his, knew him through the family or something, and had a large collection of his work. And it came to a point where she said she would gift the work to the city of Bern. Like I said, he was from Bern and lived there for a while. But they had to build a museum for it within 10 years. So the doctor offered his land, which was just outside of town, and under the caveat of Renzo Piano must build it, because he's a huge Renzo Piano fan, which I think is really apropos to our city, is we just had to have one too. And this is his sort of like philanthropic rival. The two of them are trying to always outdo each other with supporting arts and culture and humanities and everything like that. So they're kind of the main people behind the Zentrum Paul Klee. This is a view of it, and you can see here, so there are these like metallic rolling hills kind of growing out of the mountain. It kind of looks like a spaceship crashing into it. So every Renzo Piano building must have like a nickname, the flying carpet or the ancient spaceship. And they form these big hills. So this is like the administrative offices. There's 3 major hills of metal, and one has the museum office. The center hill, that's the biggest, has the main exhibition hall, and then the other hill has the forum, which is a sort of empty space, which is where most of the summer academy took place, and below it an auditorium. And like any Renzo Piano building, it's not complete unless there's a problem for the people that have to use it. They have umbrellas everywhere in the administrative offices because it's like a sauna or a greenhouse with all the windows. It gets incredibly hot, and it's a huge open space. It's very difficult to control the temperature, so everyone sort of works like they're out in a hot summer garden. on the hill.